Fox News is really depressed. And the reason that many Fox News hosts are depressed is that the stock market is doing really well. Remember that in 2020, Donald Trump predicted that if Joe Biden became president, we would have a 1929 style market crash, depression. It would be terrible. It would be a disaster. And of course, much the opposite happened. It is stock market record after all-time high. Now, Trump is predicting that if Kamala Harris wins, we will have a 1929 style depression. If you always predict a depression is coming, you might eventually be right, but it doesn't really say much for your predictive powers. Well, we had yet another day during which the stock markets touched all-time record highs. And Maria Bartiromo, it's got to be a really tough time for her right now. The stock market doing so well when you've got a Democratic president.
Welcome back. Take a look at futures this morning. Another rally underway. The Dow Industrials up 67, the Nasdaq up 43, S&P 500 up 7.25, extending into further record territory. We're looking at last week's rate cut rally continuing. The Dow and the S&P 500 closing in record territory yesterday. So that's where we begin this morning in uncharted territory.
Uncharted territory. That's right. Record highs. Now, she is hedging a little bit. And the way that Maria is raining on the stock market parade a little bit is by now calling it the rate cut rally. And this is a reference to the decision by the Fed, not made by Powell on his own, but made by the 12 Fed directors across the country, some Democrats, some Republicans, the decision to cut the federal funds rate by 50 basis points, 0.5%. And it is absolutely the case that as a general principle, when you cut the federal funds rate, you do encourage investment in the market because the benefit to keeping money in interest-bearing accounts declines. And thus, it is true that historically, cutting the federal funds rate does help the stock market. The problem is that that's been the case for 5 days, or I guess 6 days as of today. And we had something like 50 or 100 new stock market highs under the Biden administration before this rate cut took place. More from Fox News. It's like a funeral over there. Here is a report that we have yet another consecutive day of record highs. And then the camera cuts to Larry Kudlow, poor guy, Donald Trump's former economic advisor. And Kudlow says, Biden is leaving his successor a world of disorder with regular stock market highs, I guess.
Raining, here we go. The third straight record close for the blue chips. The S&P 500 also closing at all-time highs. Tomorrow, the financials did really well. As we were watching over the past several months, we've got former TD Ameritrade CEO Joe Mowgli at a game, how they will do in dropping rates. That'll do it for us. Kudlow's next.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Kudlow. I'm Larry Kudlow. All right, Kamala Harris's tax hikes would kill 800,000 jobs. Donald Trump's tax cuts would create over 1 million jobs. And Senator Mike Crapo, he says most of the Trump tax cuts won't increase the deficit at all.
There you go. Larry Kudlow going immediately to bashing Kamala Harris and saying everything she would do would be terrible, despite the fact that she would be very similar to President Biden, who has presided over a remarkable economy. Meanwhile, I can tell you what's not going well, and it's the stock for the Trump Media and Technology Group. The theme here is down, 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 now down 80%, 80%. From its high back in April, and things not looking good. So the theme here is, if it's good for the country, but not so good for Trump, they aren't happy. For all of their talk of being the patriots, they say the immigration bill would be good for the country, but Trump says it would be bad for him. So they kill it. The stock market highs normally would be so good, but they don't really help Trump's case that everything Democratic is bad, so it must not actually be the case that it's so good. We've seen them play games with the government shutdowns over the last decade. Now, there was one guy on Fox News, I'll give him credit, kind of pointing out the truth, And that guy is Fox News host Neil Cavuto, who says, Trump seems to talk about the stock market one way when the market is up and another way when the market is down.
It's interesting because Donald Trump, he's taking credit for this and that the markets are anticipating he's going to get back in power. He doesn't say that when we have a down day in the markets, or maybe it's a different poll that's shown something. And I get that, and both sides get that.
Yeah, both sides get it, but both sides don't really do it. And Neil Cavuto is absolutely right. If the stock market is up, Trump will say it's up because they think I'm going to win and I'm so good for the stock market. If the stock market is down, he will say nothing, or he will say it's down because now it's sort of looking like maybe Kamala has a shot, and that's scaring the stock market. All of that is nonsense. All of that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It's not based in fact. And what I would encourage you to do, as I've said before, I don't show up here and claim to be the ultimate source of truth. Go and look average stock market returns when you've got a Democratic president, average stock market return when you've got a Republican president. Don't take my word for it. I've looked at the numbers. My rudimentary arithmetic skills tell me that the numbers are much better when Democrats are in the White House. But don't trust me on it, right? That's the difference between this show and many of those right-wing shows who claim to be the ultimate source of truth. My understanding of numbers is stocks do better when there's a Democratic president. Go and fact check me. And then once you figure out the numbers, then you decide whether Trump's claims and Fox News's claims about stocks under Democrats versus Republicans ring true to you. Let me know what you find. info@davidpakman.com.